Today I'm going to go over some basic rules for creating dialogue when you're writing a narrative. When you write your narrative, you will be including dialogue to enhance your story. Dialogue helps a story to move forward, creates interest for the reader, and helps your reader better understand the characters you are creating. Sometimes what a person says reveals a lot more about who they are as a person than the person's or the author's third person descriptions of them. So when you write your narrative, including dialogue is as essential and important as the rest of your narrative. So there are some simple rules for you to consider. And so on this document, you'll notice that I have the 7 different rules here. They're in blue and examples are in black beneath them. On the right, I have actually attached some additional information for you on the document so you can click on them to see which part I'm referring to. So let's start with rule number 1. A direct quotation begins with a capital letter. You can see that here and you can see that here. Tyler shouted to Emilio, capital S, "See you tonight at the game." He then ran back to class, fired up that he would be playing in the homecoming game that night. "Okay, good luck," Emilio called after him. So that one's pretty simple, beginning with a capital letter when a direct quotation begins. Rule number 2. When a quotation is interrupted into 2 parts with words like "he asked" or "the teacher demanded," which is what we call a dialogue tag, the second part begins with a lowercase letter. What that means is if you were to take this dialogue tag out, it would be a complete sentence. Therefore, you would not want to capitalize the word that belongs in the second half of the sentence. So it reads, "What are some of the things," Mrs. Serban inquired, "that make Thanksgiving the best holiday of the year?" "One thing that I look forward to," exclaimed her sister, "is making apple pie with Mom." Okay, so you notice that the "that" and the is not capitalized because they actually are a continuation of the previous sentence, and that previous sentence is only interrupted by this dialogue tag. So you'll notice over here, when you click on this, that is what it refers to as the "that" is lowercase. Let's move on to rule number 3. So rule number 3 is make a new paragraph or indent when a different person begins to speak. Here's an example of an exchange between 2 different people. First, Adam. "Last night I dreamt that I ate a giant marshmallow," Adam said. "You have the most random dreams. I never remember my dreams. How come you always wake up remembering what you dreamt about?" asked Sierra. "Well," Adam exclaimed, "I don't really do anything special. It just happens." Notice that Adam spoke twice, but that each time he spoke it was indented, or you press tab in order to put it in, or you press 5 spaces. And it begins in like a new paragraph. And then as soon as Sierra begins speaking, it's a new paragraph again. And then when Adam speaks again, it's a new paragraph. Notice that this one with Sierra, it goes all the way to the end, and then the next part is not indented because that's still Sierra who's speaking. You don't indent during the entire time Sierra is speaking, only when she begins to speak. And same thing with Adam. I'll show you what this looks like in a larger piece so that you can understand that even better. Okay, rule number 4. Use double quotation marks around all spoken words. You can see that here, and then all the way down here. Except the exception is unless your speaker is quoting another person. So let me first talk about the double quotation marks. Gabe argued, "But Cole didn't have to finish his dinner. He always gets special treatment." Double quotation marks around it. Unless your speaker is quoting another person. Gabe argued, "But you never yell, 'Finish your dinner' at Cole." So the "finish your dinner" would have been what they're referencing as what the parent is saying, and they are quoting their parent. And so that part will just have a single quotation mark. Then we go to rule number 5. Use a comma to separate the dialogue tag from the dialogue. Notice the dialogue tag is highlighted in this orangey color, and you can see that there are 3 different dialogue tags. Now, as far as the comma, where you use the comma depends on where the dialogue tag appears. In either the dialogue tag will be at the beginning, sometimes it's at the end, and sometimes it's in the middle. And where it is dictates what kind of comma you use. So Gabe argued, comma, "But Cole didn't have to finish his dinner." If the dialogue tag is after the dialogue, the comma appears before or inside the quotation mark. "But Cole didn't have to finish his dinner, comma," argued Gabe. And then the last one is if the dialogue tag interrupts the flow of the sentence or of the dialogue, you use a pair of commas. And they basically follow the rules from above. So you'll see that there's a comma inside the quotation mark and then a comma after the dialogue tag and before the next person speaks. So it reads, but Cole, Gabe argued, never has to finish his dinner. So it's 3 different ways to do it depending on where you have the dialogue tag. Rule number 6. A question mark or exclamation point replaces a comma. So if you are going to have a dialogue tag in the middle or at the end, if it's a question, it just becomes a question mark instead of a comma. So what's going on? Question mark, she asked, period. I'm so confused right now, exclamation point. Or here's another example. Why didn't you order the mac and cheese pizza for dinner? Question mark, Fatima asked in disbelief. Notice a couple things. First of all, even though there's a question mark here, it's still a lowercase s with a period at the end because this entire part right here is its own sentence, where this part is a separate sentence. And so it starts with a capital and ends with an exclamation point. Okay, rule number 7. If your character has internal dialogue, italicize their inner thoughts. You do not need to use quotation marks. Okay, so here's an example here. I'll read it so that you can hear what that sounds like. Just after midnight, I gently opened the door to my house, slipped through the doorway in darkness, and gingerly closed the door behind me. I slid my hand along the wall and found the hook where I hang my keys and placed my round keychain in its place. I hope I'm being quiet enough not to wake my parents, I thought, as I crossed the hall. Where have you been, young lady? My dad questioned as he turned on the light. Okay, so this internal thought, notice there are no quotation marks around it. It's just in italics, but you still say, I thought, to give the reader and indicate that it is your thoughts in that moment. Sometimes people will not put I thought if this is a standalone, and if that ever comes up in your narrative writing, I can talk to you about how to handle that. But these are just the basic 7 rules. So what I did in addition to this, I wanted to let you know what a dialogue tag was. So if you actually click on this one, it shows you what dialogue tag is, and it basically explains who is speaking, how they're speaking, and what action is taking place. So how they're speaking would be, in this case, he was arguing. And then you're going to see in some other examples, not just who is speaking, but also what action is taking place as they speak. So let's go down here to a sample dialogue. And I only highlighted a few of the rules just to point out that these rules are being used. The only rule not used in this sample dialogue is rule number 7. So let me read it to you. The topic is, your little sister just ate the last pizza and you were confronting her. This, by the way, was written by one of my students, a freshman, about 4 years ago. It was just after dinner. I was still hungry, so I went to grab the last slice of pizza. An empty box stared up at me from the table. Still sitting at the table was my little sister Megan, her mouth full with the last slice of pizza. When she saw me staring daggers at her, she stopped chewing. Megan, I said, beginning my accusation in a low, intimidating tone, are you eating my last slice of pizza? What do you mean your slice of pizza? It's my slice of pizza, she responded with her typical annoying drone, taking another bite as I spoke. You take one more bite of that pizza, I began again, now angry, and I'll slap you into next week. I took on an intimidating pose as I spoke. Oh, really? She said inquisitively, slowly shoving the last bite into her face. I don't believe you. You're in for it now, I screamed, lunging for the pizza box and letting out a mighty battle cry. What are you kids up to? Said our father as he walked into the room, obviously annoyed. Did one of you 2 eat the last slice of pizza? I threw the pizza box, letting out a mighty roar. Ah! Megan screamed, but deflected the box before it hit her. You're crazy, she said, exasperated. I jumped across the table towards her and yelled, Get over here now! Whoa, you two, said our father in an authoritative tone. Quit the shenanigans and tell me which one of you 2 youngins ate my last slice of pizza. Okay, couple things for you to notice. First of all, if you click on any one of these, you'll see which rule I'm actually responding to. But one thing I want to point out is that your next assignment is going to write your own dialogue. And I want to show you what an exchange is. it's going to tell you that you have to write at least 8 exchanges, and an exchange is Megan speaks, or sorry, the person speaks and then Megan responds. So this is exchange 1, exchange 2, exchange 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so this one actually has 10 exchanges. Plus at the beginning, it has some background information here. But this is 10 basically back and forth exchanges between some people. So I would like you to shoot for 8 to 10 when you do this assignment. So let's look at the assignment. Your turn. Now you're going to practice writing dialogue. You will choose one of the topics below to write about. You will be graded on 1, how interesting your dialogue is, and 2, if the dialogue is punctuated correctly. So you get to pick one of these topics. You and your friend just won tickets to a concert of a band or artist you love. 2, your little sister just ate the last slice of pizza and you were confronting her. 3, your brother broke your phone and you were fighting about it. 4, your girlfriend is cheating on you with your best friend. 5, you just won a $1,000 gift card to Target and you can take one friend on a shopping spree. 6, your friend is trying to convince you to do something bad and you're resisting. You're going to type your dialogue in this box below and make sure you title it with whatever topic you chose. So let's say you decided that you were going to write about number 3. You're going to copy that and you're going to put it into the dialogue box, and then you'll go ahead and begin your dialogue. Okay, take out this part of it like that. Okay, I will give you more directions in class, but I wanted you to know and understand what your assignment was. Let me know if you have any questions.